Hey, what is going on, YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And guys, it is the end of Germany week here, and we have the viewer-voted Graf Spee for, I guess, the Friday feature here. Not really quite a Friday feature-worthy game. However, I did have a ton of fun playing this pocket battleship. Now, if you've been playing the game for a long time, you know that the Graf Spee was one of the original kind of premium ships that Wargaming released. However, despite having it, I never really played it until it got voted from the comments, so make sure you guys vote for next week. We have yet to decide what nation it will be, but I will let you guys know. But as I was saying, guys, I genuinely had a lot of fun just kind of hopping into randoms off stream here and trying to get some fun gameplay for you guys. Now, I'm not going to lie, our first game definitely did not go according to plan here, so I'll throw in a few edits. However, the second game, it was a lot of fun, and we actually got a pretty gnarly shot at around 15 kilometers. And considering that this thing only has 6 guns total, yeah, this shot was rather incredible. That game was pretty good, but I wanted to go ahead and put in this game. It just kind of encompasses everything that this ship can and is.
Gegnerischer Zerstörer gesunken.
For this game, though, guys, we are on trap here, at least the condensed version of it anyhow, and we are actually running a slight speed build here with Karl von Müller. I had already planned to do this, but it's so fitting that I got one of those typical comments the other day about, well, why don't you run a free-to-play commander instead of all the pay-to-win ones? Even though we all know that those commanders only help ever so slightly, but in this particular video, we are full free-to-play. Mr. Karl von Müller here was our build with Beyond Range, Igniter, Punch Through, and of course fixated with Refill Station. Bruce Fraser and Mim Belly as inspirations, full free-to-play. That guy is just not going to believe it when he sees this video. Oh man, I'm like a 7th grader who finally figured out how to edit videos here. But anyway, moving on to the gameplay, we have every cruiser killer's dream in Omaha, slightly angled. We don't quite lead him correctly. He slowed down and turned in just a bit. We got to overpen there. The Graf Spee, of course, is still German, and you're going to get those few trolley dispersion salvos. Despite her being rather accurate and deadly in real life, I know a few of my historians, Zepranith and a few others, are going to give a very nice history on her. She took on 5 or 6 ships, I believe, in the Battle of the River Plate and absolutely abused the Royal Navy for a bit, but I'm sure the Royal Navy would consider their revenge on Bismarck a nice little evening, you know, out of the tally there. Anyway, we did get a nice citadel on this Omaha, and that is when I realized, yes, the shortened version of this map is not really where I want to be right now. There was an Oklahoma near that sea cap, and we do know that it is starting to tick red. Our destroyer is in there, and that is when we notice that we are still detected, so it's either a battleship, a cruiser, or that destroyer sitting in that channel gap there, and that is when the Nuremberg gets out. And he also decided to shoot AP for a little bit. As I'm not sure if there was a challenge of sail broadside and shoot AP, but both the Omaha and the Nuremberg were completing them rather well. Now, of course, getting out here on the flank was my objective, and we're honestly a touch lucky that that Oklahoma did not have his guns trained on us. However, we could have made a few maneuvers to get ourselves behind this island here. The Graf Spee, and of course any ships with this type of gun layout, speed, armors, there's not really the best secondaries, but it has them, is going to excel on getting a flank. We spawn on this side, we're going to play this side. However, I'm going to try and get a nice flank to create some crossfires and get some angles in the meantime. We took a cheeky little shot at that Oklahoma, and these guns will absolutely abuse battleships, especially on superstructure and belt. You're probably not going to be getting too many citadels, especially at a range like that. However, 7-8K every, 15 or 20 seconds or so is going to hurt battleships, especially at tier 4. I launched those torpedoes in anticipation that this Nuremberg was going to try and rush me, and that is when his destroyer teammate popped up. I'm not sure why the Mahan is also trying to shoot me with AP. I guess it is National Sail Broadside and Shoot AP Day. I wish I would have kept the AP loaded for that Nuremberg. However, there is a destroyer directly in front of us, and we are kind of in a 2-on-1 here. This Nuremberg is actually going to get a good angle on us and chunk us for a little bit of our health. That is when the Mahan decides to smoke up and turn in, not before losing almost all of his health when we connect 5 out of 6 there. The HE on this ship is definitely not your first choice. However, when going against destroyers, it is always a good idea. He turns in, we pop our sonar, it doesn't matter, and get absolutely trolled by RNG. You gotta love the true randomness of RNG. The first salvo connects 5 of 6. A shout out to our battleship for getting that elimination. Anytime a destroyer, or a battleship rather, shoots at a destroyer, I am always going to compliment them. That is when the Nuremberg decides he wants to get in this fight and utilize his torpedoes. And he is pushing into a rather dangerous situation here. However, I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place, figuratively and literally, as this is the edge of the map. Playing on these tiny, shortened maps is just, I'm not used to it, right? Now, of course, we were kind of kiting away from that situation, and our team does have a beautiful crossfire on him. However, being on the border is somewhere I don't really want to be that often. That is when we pop around this island here. The Nuremberg is probably launching torps. We get pretty trolled. I thought I had enough angle there to get his, citadel. The Nuremberg and the Königsberg have some of the most accessible citadels in the game. We still have our Hydro running. He pops his torps. We go ahead and accelerate, easily dodging those. He's still sailing broadside. He probably could have been shooting. However, good night. Thanks for playing. And that is our second elimination of the game. Now, looking up at the scoreboard, you guys can already read the writing on the wall. This game is a typical Legends game that is pretty much over in 5 minutes if you can easily counter a poor enemy push, and that is exactly what happened. However, we are not done causing havoc, and these next few engagements really highlight how strong this ship can be when putting her in the right position. Utilizing this little wiggle here, you kind of open up angle to get your guns off, and then you kind of close that angle back. Now, she doesn't have the best armor profile, and that's honestly why I didn't really decide to play this ship too much. That, and of course getting a salvo like that, especially in a game which is a lot closer, can be very frustrating. This thing, though, in Ranked and Arena, is an absolute nightmare to deal with. When the ship count decreases, this ship grows in strength. And here is just a great example of that versatility. We finally get a few salvos to land. We take 3 penetrations there. I'm not sure what I'm bouncing and shattering on, but regardless, that was about 10k off of that Nevada there. Further kind of emphasizing the point I made earlier to aim mid-belt and superstructure. Maybe not superstructure, but definitely mid-belt to just get those full penetrations. Full penetrations are far more effective overall than trying to aim Citadel, especially in a ship with, I believe these are 283mm guns, which don't really have that much punch, especially at range. But again, talking about all of the tools in your tool belt, we launch a salvo of torpedoes. The Graf Spee actually does get access to 8-kilometer torpedoes, kind of a little, out of the ordinary of the standard German 6-kilometer torpedoes. And here, I'm just taking a cheeky blind fire as the carrier was last spotted. Well, he's actually spotted by our carrier right now. However, if you look on the minimap, you can kind of judge those were a touch short as he does become spotted here momentarily. However, we do have to pay attention to our angle. That is when the Ranger becomes detected. We go ahead and throw our salvo at him. Why? Because we have torpedoes going towards that Nevada. He is not maneuvering at all, sailing in a straight line. We do take a little bit of a chunk while citadeling that carrier. And yeah, good night. Thanks for playing. Again, guys, looking at your engagements, reading the room, we got a salvo off on that Ranger, which paid us a Citadel. We also had those torpedoes. I could have shot that Nevada, however, we knew that we had torpedoes on the way, so it wasn't necessary. Now, of course, if he was angling or turning in, that is when you want to assess the situation and react accordingly. You guys see me get a few double strikes sometimes, pulling maneuvers like that. That is how you get double strikes. That is how you maximize your damage potential and your output. But there is another Citadel, as we got previously trolled by that salvo beforehand, and there is the high caliber. A nice 95,000 damage here. Of course, this is tier 4 and 5. I feel like 95k is... I feel like I could get that in my sleep in destroyers. But again, we did pretty much a third of the killing there and a third of the damage. A nice little first place finish there. And I had only played 3 games in the ship. Notably, I actually hadn't played any games. And yeah, our stats for this thing are pretty decent here. Nice little 21 XP. Of course, 3 games is... that is definitely not enough games to get a full assessment. I know I'm going to get a comment on that. However, it was just nice to see that our first outing, or first 3 outings rather, did lead us to some favorable outcomes there. But guys, that is the end of Germany week. You guys let me know in the comments down below what nation we should do next. I don't know if I'll be completing it next week, maybe. And then I believe next week is patch notes, so the following week is the update. So, of course, we'll have some content to cover then. I hope you guys enjoyed this series. I'm trying to break it up. I'm trying to do things fun. Again, I know this may not be the exact best build, what have you. Let me know what you guys are running down below. However, I am trying to meme here and have fun without getting premium pay to win. You know, actually, those comments are funny, and we can make some fun moments, of course, as we did in this video. You guys leave all the crazy comments down below. It only helps the algorithm. I love you guys. You guys have a great day, night, whenever you're watching this video. Aaron out. Peace.